Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and today I'm bringing you some gameplay and impressions from Deathloop. Massive thanks to Bethesda for sending me over a code for PlayStation 5. All of the footage that you're going to see was captured on PlayStation 5 running in the performance mode. There's three modes, like performance mode is focusing on getting 60 frames a second. Then there's like visual quality mode, which focuses on keeping at 4K because there's like a dynamic resolution. And then there's a mode which adds ray tracing but puts you down to 30 frames a second. But yeah. I've been playing all of this on PlayStation 5. Thank you, Bethesda, for letting me play this a little bit early so I could make this video for you. And I will be streaming as soon as this video goes live. I'll be streaming over at twitch.tv/geekypastimes. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's talk about Deathloop. So for anyone who doesn't know, Deathloop is by Arcane, who are the creators of Dishonored and Prey, and from my perspective I love Dishonored and Prey. There's a lot of the best stuff of those games in this, like you can see this DNA, and it's really solid. It's a first person shooter set within a time loop, but it's not really like anything you've played before. So like, I can see people saying like, oh, it's another time loop game, so is it like 12 minutes of Forgotten City? And like, nope, there's nothing like them. There's elements that are a little bit like a roguelike, but it's not really a roguelike. It's a little bit like Dark Souls, but not really like Dark Souls. It really is its own thing, so I'll try to explain it the best I can through this video. There's not going to be any spoilers in this video at all. I'm not going to spoil any of the things that you find out in the story or anything like that, but I am really enjoying the story as far as I've played it so far. So the basic gist is you wake up on a beach and you don't know who you are or where you are, and you find out fairly quickly that the island that you're on is in this time loop, and it's just experiencing the same day over and over and over again, and your job is to break this loop by killing a group of special people that are called visionaries within a single loop. Like, that's the objective of the game, is to try and complete one loop where you kill every single visionary. At the start, you've got super basic weaponry and no powers, so getting around is quite difficult, fighting the enemies is quite difficult, everything's quite intimidating. I'd say, like, I haven't actually died in the game yet. I haven't died to the point where you're completely dead, because you get 3 lives. But it always feels like it's difficult. There's no difficulty settings or anything like that. It just always feels like it's got that challenge, and I think that's the perfect balance for a game. If it feels difficult, but it's not frustrating because you're not losing progress all the time. If you do die in the game, so you die all 3 times, you run out of lives, you have to start that loop again, and you lose everything that you'd gained throughout that loop. There is a while later where you can learn to sort of preserve objects, so you can preserve guns or abilities and things like that, so you don't have to go back and get them every time. You get that pretty early on, and so once you've preserved something, then it's safe. But if you die, anything that you hadn't preserved is completely lost, and preserving stuff uses up this resource, and you lose that resource at the end of every loop too, so you need to spend it as much as possible because you're just going to lose it. When you start being able to preserve stuff, it makes the game so much easier, because you can find a gun that's got a silencer on it, you can get some of these crazy abilities that are similar to things in Dishonored, where you can start teleporting about and stuff like that. It makes it much easier, but at the very beginning it feels really challenging. There's 4 areas of the island and times of day to experiment in, and basically you can choose at each time of day, you can choose which area of the island you go to. So it's like morning, noon, afternoon and evening, and you kind of choose, okay, in the morning I'm going to go to this area, and then you play it. While you're playing, time doesn't progress, so while you're in the area you've just got as long as you want to do stuff. But then when you leave the area, that's when time will then progress to at like noon. You don't need to play through every time of day each time, so say if you've got something you particularly want to do in the evening in one location, that's absolutely fine, you can just go straight there, but it means like that's the only thing you'll get to do in that loop, because once you finish your evening session, then it will go on to a new loop, it'll start again. As you progress through the loops, you kind of gain more information. You get things like door codes and passwords and stuff like that. There's some things in the world that kind of persist through loops that you start to understand. And there's kind of that side of it all ties into the narrative. It all makes a lot of sense. And as you gain abilities, you get to sort of explore and master the environment, and you get better and more powerful until you get to the point where you know exactly where you're going, the best routes to get to places, how to do things, you can take people down incredibly quickly. Challenges that seemed really difficult at the beginning of the game end up getting much simpler. A little bit like in the way that, in Dark Souls, your route to the boss, the first time you do the route to the boss, you think like, oh, this is really challenging, I have to take it really slow. And then once you've fought the boss a few times, you get to the point where you can just sprint through the whole thing. That very much happens in Deathloop. You get to the point where you can get to a certain place or certain character very, very quickly without doing all the messing around. And that's a lot of fun. It does really feel like it sort of rewards exploration, experimentation, because it feels really good when you find something that works really, really well. There's also a little bit of like a Metroidvania feel, where every now and then you'll get a new ability, or you'll get something like a door code, and suddenly it's like, oh my god, I can access this whole new area, this whole thing that was like locked off to me before. Now I understand how to do it. And that's really, really cool. Gameplay sort of revolves around 3 different aspects, I'd say. So there's exploration, stealth, and combat. The exploration's awesome. Like, it's my favourite thing about the game so far, and it's something that I felt has been missing from games for quite a while. I can't remember the last time I had a game where I really enjoyed just looking around at stuff. But like in Deathloop, it's awesome. Like sometimes you can just like spot a door that you can open, or a window that you can climb through, or something like that. And every area has loads of environmental storytelling. There's like a purpose for everything. Different things happen to them at different times of day. So there's like this sort of party thing happening in the evening, and you can see people setting it up throughout the day. And then the stuff that has been set up, you can see happening later on. It's really, really cool, and there's loads of notes and bits of lore and clues and stuff like that all dotted around. Like, I really, really enjoy it. Also, all the conversations you can overhear are really fun, and you can see the AI. The AI don't just guard things, or some of them do, but a lot of them have conversations. They go and do stuff. Some of them just die by themselves. And they've all got this like really weird vibe about them. They're all really freaky, so they've all got masks on and stuff. And it means sometimes it's kind of interesting just to kind of watch an area and see what's happening. The stealth side of it is really, really similar to Dishonored. I think it works really well. Like, it revolves a lot around moving around, so sort of like maybe going across rooftops, something that I like doing a lot, teleporting through windows and things like that. It does feel really, really solid. Like, you can kill enemies like by going up behind them and assassinating them and stuff like that. They do seem a little bit short-sighted. Like, sometimes an enemy will be looking at you, but they're like 20 feet away and they won't see you, which seems a little bit strange. And once you get suppressed weapons, which you can get quite a good suppressed weapon quite early on, it means that like all of the stealth becomes much, much easier. Like, you get to the point where you can fly through areas just killing absolutely everybody. As long as you kind of know the order to do it in, you can just shoot everyone in the head, and it makes it much, much simpler. Obviously there are things that sort of make that more difficult at times, but it's sort of the stealth isn't something that I'd be worried about. If you're not a big fan of stealth, I wouldn't worry, because I think this is quite enjoyable. It's not very frustrating, and there's loads of different ways to get around problems. The combat's an absolute blast, and like, obviously when stealth goes wrong, it all goes out into combat. And if you want, sometimes, if you're just trying to do something quickly, you can just go in all guns blazing anyway. Like, the guns feel super powerful, they're all really, really strong. There's a load of really interesting ones. There's sort of like typical archetypes of like a really powerful pistol, a really powerful shotgun, a powerful sniper rifle, but they all feel really, really solid, and it's really good. And the character you play as, especially at the start before you get too many buffs, is really fragile, so you can die super quick, which makes the combat interesting. Like, you really have to think about how you're going to approach situations. Now, the big thing that throws span into the works of all of these things, your exploration or your stealth or your combat, is Juliana. And this is something that the marketing made a big deal of, and it really is a big deal while you're playing the game. Juliana is this antagonist who can invade your game at random times to try and kill you. Now, if you want, you can play offline, and Juliana will just be controlled by the AI. And the AI is pretty dumb, and Juliana's super easy to kill. But more interesting is if you play it online in multiplayer, random players or your friends can come and invade your game. So when you're playing as Juliana, you actually get a choice of whether to invade your friends or a random player. And when you're playing as Colt, you can make it so only friends can invade you, which makes it kind of interesting. If you've got enough people on your friends list who are going to be willing to do the invasions, you can do that. Or you can even set up specific times where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I want you to invade me, and then you can like have a game against each other, which is kind of interesting. So Juliana's job is to try and kill Colt, and when she comes in, it locks all of the doors out of the level, so you can't exit. Colt can't exit again until he hacks this one transmitter tower, which gives Juliana kind of a focus point, a place where she can wait to try and fight Colt. Now, like I said earlier, Colt has 3 lives, so he's got a massive advantage against Juliana straight away. And so far, I've never been killed by Juliana, I've never had any trouble with them. When I've played as Juliana, I've never managed to finish off a Colt. I've killed one twice, that's the best I've done so far, but I've never managed to get that 3rd kill. because Colt just keeps on coming back with full health, which makes it really, really difficult to work out like how to finish him off. I've really enjoyed it. Like, it hasn't been as stressful as I found like the Dark Souls invasions or things like that. It's just a really kind of interesting thing where it makes it a lot less predictable, because the nature of Deathloop is it will become predictable once you understand exactly where every enemy is, the best route to do things, stuff like that. Juliana's the thing that you don't know where she's going to appear. You don't know when she's going to appear, what weapon she's going to have, what abilities she's going to have, stuff like that. And so it means that you're always kind of a little bit tense. You've always got something to keep you on your toes, which I think is really cool. And obviously, if Juliana does kill you, that's the end of that loop. You then need to start that loop again. So you've got quite a lot to lose if Juliana does manage to kill you. If you choose to play as Juliana, you choose this from the menu right at the beginning. You can choose your loadout and then whether you want to join a random game or one of your friends. Then once a match is found, you spawn near a transmitter and the other player has to try and hack it, like I said. So you can kind of set up if you want, or you can go and try and find Colt. And it's interesting, you don't get a map mark or anything unless Colt is seen by some of the NPCs, some of the AI characters. So if the Colt is being really stealthy, it might have a really hard job trying to find them, but they will have to come and do that transmitter at some point. So normally you'll end up being able to keep them, find them if you want. And you can obviously try and get in the way. If you can work out like, oh, they're trying to kill this visionary, you can go and try and protect that visionary if you want. You can like go and like move some turrets around and stuff, or you can try and like, if you see Colt, you can tag him, and then all of the AI in the nearby area will go and attack him. So you can kind of, you don't even need to attack him directly if you want. And there's tons of fun voice lines and stuff, like a back and forwards between them when they're fighting, which I think is a lot of fun. It's really, really cool, and it definitely lives up to kind of the hype that was created around that feature at the beginning. I don't find it very frustrating. I found it fun so far, but bear in mind, while I've been playing, there's not many people that have the game yet, so I'm guessing I'm getting invaded a lot less than I will when it comes to launch day. Then it's probably going to be a lot more people. I would also warn you that obviously there's a fair few people that have got this game a little bit early. On launch day, there's going to be a lot of very, very powerful Julianas. I don't know if it's if the game matches up powerful Julianas with powerful Colts, or whether it's just random, so it could be kind of scary at first, I think. When you're playing as Juliana, like I said, it's really, really difficult, and but every time you play it, you get to complete these like challenges. They're called feats. So you get stuff for like, did you survive for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, for 10 minutes? Did you manage to kill Colt however many times? Did you manage to tag Colt for everyone else to try and attack him? Did you get them to do more damage? Did you do more damage than Colt did to you? Did you manage to kill him in an interesting way, like kicking him off a cliff or stuff like that? And then those challenges are all worth points, and that goes towards leveling you up. So you end up leveling up and getting like way more weapons and abilities, stuff like that. As Juliana, you get all that stuff super quickly. You don't need to play many games before you get loads and loads of abilities, which obviously makes it easier and kind of more interesting to track down Colt in the next invasion. So overall, Deathloop is everything I was hyped for and more. Like, I'm having an absolute blast of it. I'm nowhere near finishing it. I've only killed a couple of the visionaries and only spent like an hour or so playing as Juliana. I'm going to be playing loads more on stream. Like I said, after this video goes live, I should be on twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes playing it, so you can come see me. I'm going to try my best not to be spoiling stuff on stream, I think. Like, I'll be doing stuff where I'll be playing as Juliana a lot to try and just invade other people and see how that goes. I think that could be a lot of fun. So check me out on there. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.